Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Monday, so that means it's the Bundesliga and A-League review, and we have reached it, the last weekend of the regular season of the A-League. Obviously, we've still got finals ahead of us, but Bundesliga's still got 3 more games for each team as well beyond this point. But we're basically here now. We're at that kind of closing stage of the season. Obviously then, like, footballers have to go off and play at the World Cup after. Our content just continues with the football in terms of reviewing it after, but we are at that penultimate end of the season. Obviously you've had a slightly mixed week as a sporting fan, haven't you, Ben, with some good results for some teams, some awful results for other teams.
Yeah,
that's basically kind of good and bad, basically.
Pretty much some fantastic, really epic results for some, and some pretty, bog standard, pretty shit results for others. And I think we're probably going to cover them all tonight, I'd say. So,
I mean, look, you've hit the nail on the head, and why don't we just, let's not beat around the bush any longer. Let's dive straight into it with the fact that there's, we're at this back end of the Bundesliga season, and a lot of the games now have very little riding on them. There are a couple that definitely will and deserve to get more attention now, otherwise we'll be talking for 20 minutes. One of them being your team, of course, and their phenomenal result on this weekend in a must-win game as well against Heidenheim, probably putting in one of your worst performances this season, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I know you lost 5-0 to us, and I know you've had some 4-0s earlier this season, but just in the way that you played in this game, in a must-win game, awful.
Oh, it was
absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it was piss poor, to be honest, and I'll tell you why. I watched the start at the first 10 minutes, and we conceded within about 2 or 3 minutes from a clearance that, yes, it was a difficult one to clear, but you got to do better than that. But turned it off for a while, and I actually started watching as I said to you, I started watching the in-betweeners. I'm like, I'm not watching this shit. And I thought, okay, I'll keep an eye on the scores, and maybe we'll score. We didn't, so got back to watching like the last 15 minutes, and then they score again from a counter-attack, and I saw one highlight, which was Hotonji with a really pretty simple one-on-one, and the keeper did well to sort of, I was going to say Mirage or whatever his name is,
Ramon.
That's the one, Ramon, did pretty well to keep it out, but just, the shining light, I suppose, Eric Smith came off the bench, but Matthias Perilous, I think they said he had a knee injury at training, so he's out for, I presume, the rest of the season. So that's, we're pretty fucked if we get another injury to a decent player, I think. But, in terms of the game, credit to Heidenheim, they had more to play for, more at stake, so they're well and truly back in the...
I disagree with that statement. I think going into this game, the defeat they had last week, we were even saying again on here, that's it, we think they're done. And then once again, they pulled out a result which now makes you look at the table and go, hang on, this relegation battle's getting pretty damn interesting now. Because they're not done.
No.
And I apologise to the Heidenheim fans who watch this. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are a Heidenheim fan who watches this.
Yeah.
But I apologise to you wholeheartedly, because I've been very impressed with your team, who continue to give themselves a fighting chance in this run-in and continue to look probably one of the most impressive teams at the bottom end, down in that bottom area of the table as things currently stand.
Yeah, I was just getting...
But I still think you had more to play for.
We did, without a doubt, and that's why I'm so annoyed. Surprised, not really, because as you said, we've had some pretty average games. The last game I can think we played that badly was the pre-winter break, that 0-0 draw against Mainz when they were at their worst. And we know how well they've gone. They're into the top 10. But, looking at the bottom 3, Heidenheim is still in the fight, and credit to them. The surprise for me, and we'll get to them shortly, is Hamburger, now slipped to 15th. But I guess in terms of the bottom 3, of which we're, well and truly rooted in, I said to you last week, we caught up last week, and I said to you, I really hope it doesn't come down to that last day, and you said, it'd be fantastic as a neutral to say that. The more I think about it, the more it probably is going to come down to that, and that terrifies me, because even sort of thinking about the playoff, the promotion playoff, I don't even have.
Well, but this is
if this keeps going, a whole lot of confidence about that.
With 3 games to play this season, all teams have 3 games left to play, obviously, now this season. With that in mind,
Yeah.
and you look at the points gaps and the form, and you don't. I mean, look, you could potentially see one of these bottom 3 teams winning their next 3 games and then pulling clear. But I think between you, Wolfsburg, Heidenheim, it's either relegation or playoff now.
Yeah.
I don't think you're in a position anymore where you could be looking any higher realistically than that playoff spot.
No.
And if you are going to survive, you're doing it through the playoff.
I tend to agree. Just having like I said, having only seen bits of the game from the other night, but obviously other results. And we'll get to the other one as we said, but yeah, I think that's where we're at. And you know what, we probably deserve to be there, but I guess I'm probably more upset because it's the only time this year, and I've already told you this. I actually got on Instagram over the weekend on the actual club page, which is mostly in German in terms of the comments, and I teed off, and I actually sent you a snippet of what I said, and basically it was around the tune of, we make the worst defence in the league look like fucking Bayern Munich, and a team that is almost a poor attack as us. I mean, they've scored nearly 10 more goals than we have now. In fact, we're obviously the worst attacking side. That's how bad it was. We made them look like you guys. That's how, and that made me really angry. But I think you're right. I think it's the playoff or going down now. I hope it's the former. Hanover are currently in 3rd spot. That's going to be an interesting watch as well to see who finishes. Schalke's they're definitely going up as of next weekend, I think. So, but I mean, in terms of covering this game, mate, I'm pretty much done. It's like, the more I talk about it, the more pissed off I'm going to get, because we've had chances in games, and this is what I said on this Instagram post, we've had some really dumb moments this year, and just real stuff that I wish we could take back, and it's why we're in this position now. We've coughed up points, in different situations. I actually saw a line that Wolfsburg were interested in Hulkeval for next season. You know what? They can have him. I'll pack his suitcase and drive him down the autobahn to Wolfsburg. They can have him, because it's guys like him and some of those other players that have just made crucial mistakes, and just, they're not Bundesliga standard. They can go and play in the 2nd division for all I care, because if by some miracle, and it is now, that we win that playoff, as I said, it's more likely that we end up there. Blessing's gone, and we have to invest in better players, because we won't survive next season if we somehow are still there.
I mean, look, I think even at this point, you're teetering on the edge of whether you'll stay up this season as well. So the point I was going to make is, Blessing has absolutely fucked it for you this season as a coach. Last season, we all were, all the talk was like last season, it's been a long time that you've been in. We all know you didn't score that many goals. We didn't even score 30 goals, I think, in the league last season, but the defence was so much better. You only conceded 10 more goals than you scored or something, like 38 goals. You scored like 28, conceded only 38.
Yeah.
So the defence was remarkable from you last season. But it's a tactic that just doesn't work.
No.
Because as soon as teams figure out how to score against you, then all of a sudden this kind of pragmatic approach to football that Blessing has had with your team gets completely exposed.
Yeah, and we barely look like scoring. I mean, you look at the game the week before where we were right on top of Köln for pretty much the entire game, and couldn't even beat them, and
it's just too cagey.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's too cagey. I know Heidenheim, they've been good in recent weeks, but you're still above them in the table. You've gone to play them, and you've basically sat back to hit them on the break, and it's pathetic, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And he's just doing this too many times. Now, it's going to be interesting, because one of the reasons I want it to go down to the last day, not because we all love a good relegation battle, obviously you as the fan would rather be
I'd rather not have to
safe
go
for the
through
playoff
that,
at least. But my point is, if it goes down to that last day and you're both kind of in a situation where you're both kind of in a situation where you're level on points and it's a winner takes all to stay in that, to get that playoff spot and not go down automatically. Maybe then we might see the reins kind of come off your team a bit. Maybe then we might see some intent to go out and play on the front foot a bit more. Because if you keep playing, I'm saying now, if you play the rest of these games, these last 3 games, the way you've played the previous 31,
we're
you're
going
gone.
down. Yeah, exactly. I know. I agree.
I just can't see.
No.
I don't see like this team of yours.
Yeah.
I've never seen the team. It's been I've rarely seen a team in the Bundesliga look so incapable of scoring multiple goals in a game of football. Like
Yeah.
even one looks difficult.
Maybe
Maybe Greuther
yeah.
Fürth, like when they went
Yeah.
down with 15 points a couple of seasons back.
Yeah.
But other than that,
It's been really hard to watch, and it's only just been the last couple of games I just haven't watched live. One was at 4:30 a.m. and the other night was just too painful to watch, knowing that was happening. I mean, the fact that I thought we might last year we would have at least sort of scrapped for a draw and had some sort of take. But the last point I'm going to make on this, because I could talk about this for an hour and I'm not going to, is I think you're right, but I don't want to see us use that last game as breaking the glass. I want it to happen now. It has to happen now. Because we need...
But in all honesty, I know there's only 3 games to go, and normally I don't condone this, but would it hurt to sack him
No.
for 3 games?
It wouldn't at all.
To go.
It wouldn't at all.
I mean, and a playoff, 3 games and potentially a playoff to go.
No.
Like, I don't know, like it's too soon to bring in a new permanent manager, but
No, I don't disagree with that
would
at
you
all.
trust? I mean, I don't know really that much about your assistant manager, but would you trust him to keep you up by the playoff? Obviously, but
I don't know enough about him to sort of know if he would, but we held fire on getting rid of him when we could have, weeks ago.
he should have gone in the winter.
I agree, and who knows where we'd be now if that had been the case.
I mean, you're basically in this position because of that awful 10-match losing.
And now we're on what is it, 4 or 5 or what? We haven't had a win in 6 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think it was I almost said Heidenheim. Hoffenheim was, I think, our last win. That was ages ago. Look, I think if they're going to do it, they've got to do it now, because I don't want to. Like I said, I don't want to be going to that last day, winner takes all. The only saving grace with me would be if it was just a draw, and basically we still made that playoff on a draw. That's fine. I don't give a shit about Wolfsburg. It's good. It's from a rivalry point of view. It's great that they're fighting back, because we thought they were done like Heidenheim as well. But they're a little bit too close to comfort for my liking.
Well, this is the thing, right? We've a while ago we were saying Heidenheim were done, we were saying Wolfsburg are done, and all of a sudden these teams are showing fight, where you guys feel like you're going in the opposite direction.
And Wolfsburg's goal difference is now better than ours too, which was what I was hanging my hat on a few weeks ago, and now that's gone. So I don't know, man. I think if they're gonna sack him, do it now, and also if they're gonna start playing football where they actually want to try and survive eventually, albeit playing a couple of extra games, it's got to start now. We've got 2 home games left and a pretty tricky game against Leipzig, which I'm not expecting to get anything from, because we're not playing that sort of football we did when we played them a few months ago. We're just not that team anymore, which really annoys me, because other teams have fought back and they've gotten results, and teams that were, like Mainz, as I said before, that were awful post-Christmas have done what they needed to do, and they've had management change as well, and Bremen as well, and it wouldn't hurt, but I don't have a crystal ball, but to be honest, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't, and I'm just thankful that other teams that I follow, that I'm more emotionally invested in, got better results. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, we'll move on to the other team in
Please.
this kind of relegation conversation, who picked up what ended up being a relatively valuable point in the end against Gladbach. Tough game for them, but they managed to hold on for the point. Nothing too inspiring, but just, again, quite valuable given the fact that you guys lost your game. They go within a point of you now. We're literally in a position now where we could be going into the final day with Heidenheim on 25 points, you guys and Wolfsburg both on 26 points. Now that would be one hell of a final day relegation battle if it ends up like that.
Maybe for some, yeah.
Because it generally could work out. Heidenheim and Wolfsburg both have to play us in one of their remaining 3 games.
Good.
You guys played Wolfsburg in the last game. Mm-hmm. You have that Leipzig game, which is kind of like your equaliser. Even though, let's face it, any game could be your equaliser at this point.
Yeah.
But the point being, like, that each of the three teams in this conversation have a game against a big team at the top,
Yep.
and then games against teams which you think that could be winnable. Maybe less so for you right now, the way it is, but you've picked up surprise results earlier this season, so who can say it's not going to happen again?
That's true.
It's just a very interesting battle.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all I have to say about the Wolfsburg game either as well, because apart from that Gladbach red card, really not an awful lot happened in it. Couple of chances from Wolfsburg. Mohamed Amoura's got to do a lot better on the two chances he's had, especially in the situation his team are in. You think if they'd won that game, then all of a sudden you look doomed. If they'd won that game, but they haven't, so the question still remains. Speaking of some other games, we can quickly rattle through, as I said, there's not an awful lot to talk about in these closing stages of the season for some of these teams. Just looking at them for a start, look, Augsburg, Frankfurt, again, not really an awful lot riding on the game. Augsburg are now comfortable in mid-table. Frankfurt, probably going to finish around 7th or 8th now at this point in the season. That kind of battle between them and Freiburg. There's really not an awful lot to say about that one, really, is there?
No.
Great finish from Richard Doan, I have to say.
Good to see him
really
on the
well
score
taken,
sheet,
really well taken finish into the bottom corner. But yeah, just not much on that game, really. I mean, any thoughts from you about that game?
Nah, not really. 1-1. I mean, both sides to be happy with a point. I mean, there's obviously been a couple of those results this weekend as well. Just sort of entertaining draws, I guess, and this is one of them.
Yeah. Speaking of another 1-1, we had a Stuttgart-Bremen draw. Bremen, the point probably just about keeps them up now. I know it's not mathematical, but I think they've done enough to survive. And, fair credit, Daniel Thune came in. The team wasn't performing that well. He's just managed to get straight results out when he needs to most and get them over the line. I'll do the pun for you because I think you're thinking it already, aren't you, Ben?
Mm-hmm.
He's really got a tune out of that team, hasn't he?
Yes, he certainly has. And
poor result for Stuttgart, though. Their Champions League bid, not a great result for them.
Well, they've been a bit up and down, and I say that because we actually beat them, and look at where we are now. So you said they've had some surprising results, and certainly the other way. But for Bremen, like you said, they're pretty much safe. You think now, and credit to them, they were looking doomed a few weeks ago, and they've managed to turn it around. They had a horror period for a while, and they've managed to fight back under new management. Pardon the pun. So
yeah. We had a Leipzig win against Union Berlin, whose season is petering to a pretty pathetic close, if I have to say so.
Yeah, just going through the motions.
Leipzig, fine. They're Leipzig obviously a good team, of course. Like they're looking more and more certain for Champions League football each week of the way things are currently going for them. But another very kind of uninspiring performance from Union Berlin, who kind of look like they just want the season to be over at this point. They ain't going down. They're just kind of seeing their season kind of peter out here, which is a shame because when we started this podcast, at least a good month or two at the beginning of when we started this, Union were very kind of physically, chesty yawning like always people, a very physically kind of intimidating team, and they just kind of lost that after the mid-season break, and they haven't really got it back at a consistent level since, and now they just look like they're done with their season now.
Yeah, I think so. Just certainly it petered out for them, as you said. So just sort of going through the motions, really. And I mean, not too much else to say, really. It's been a few of these sort of games where it's just sort of more investment in the bottom sort of 3 or 4 teams.
I mean, that's what it's like at this stage of the season. We had a Leverkusen win against Köln, a big win for Leverkusen, a bit of a setback for Köln, but nothing too damaging, you'd think, at this point. Big win for Leverkusen if they're just still trying to cling on to any hopes of Champions League football, which are, it's only 2 points between them and Stuttgart, so it's very truly on that kind of Champions League battle. 2 more goals for Patrick Schick. When he's on it, he just looks class. He does. The problem is the consistency for him, and that's kind of been Leverkusen's issue as a team this season. The consistency Oh God, excuse me, people. Learning what it's like now, working a full-time job, right?
Well,
I was saying, but yeah, in terms of Leverkusen, like the consistency's just not been there.
no.
And maybe you think if it had been, they would have been comfortably in the top 4 this season, but
Yeah.
it's just not been like anything like when the previous 2 seasons to this under Xabi Alonso. It's just not worked out the same way for them.
Yeah.
They had an awful start. The Ten Hag experiment failed instantly. Kasper Hjulman come in, fair credit. He's done a decent job at times, but the consistency needs to improve next season.
Yeah, Curlin falling away a little bit in the last couple of weeks, I've noticed as well.
Yeah.
They couldn't put us away. I mean, albeit they got a bit lucky at the end, but yeah, they were one of the form teams not long ago, and they're sort of, season's sort of going through the motions a bit now. I mean, they're safe, so they don't have a lot to play for really. They'll finish sort of mid, or not even mid-table now. They've slipped to 14th, so
Yeah.
so that's a bit disappointing from their point of view. I mean, they've had a really good squad this year, and just, I mean, I did see Saeed Al-Mala miss a pretty gettable goal from his standards, so maybe the players have sort of dropped off a bit as well, and it's showing in the results perhaps.
Yeah, but Luca Waldschmidt scored again, back-to-back weeks he scored now after that penalty against you guys, of course.
Yes.
Another 2 results, we'll wrap up the week with the Bayern game. Hoffenheim beat Hamburg. Much more convincing from Hoffenheim, I think. It's a performance that's been missing inconsistency at this back end of the season, and they'll be looking to just let's see what their last few fixtures are. In fact, they got Stuttgart. That's going to be a big game next week, in fact, between Hoffenheim and Stuttgart. Then Bremen, and they wrap the season up away at Gladbach. So look, next week's huge for Hoffenheim. If they can win next week, Champions League is right back on the cards for them, and it's in their hands at that point. But if they lose, that might be it for their Champions League dreams. So that's a big, big game, in fact, next week between Hoffenheim and Stuttgart. Hamburg, I mean, yeah, look, been a long time out of the league. I said this last week. They've had a solid season, all things considered.
Yeah.
A quite well, overall a decent season. They picked up some good results here and there. Other times they haven't been as good, but overall they can be proud of it. I'm going to say Glatzel's goal was really well taken in this game. I will say that, very well taken around the keeper. Oh, it's a penalty. Sorry, it wasn't out. He missed the chance. I'm thinking.
Still got around the keeper though. Yeah.
Yeah, the penalty. Yeah, he got fouled.
Yeah.
But well taken to go around the keeper. Did a good job. Good penalty. But yeah, look, not bad for Hamburg. Great performance from Hoffenheim, and something they need more of in these last few games if they're going to get to the Champions League.
Yeah.
And lastly, penultimately of this round, Dortmund-Freiburg. Dortmund normal service resumed after a bit of a poor run in recent weeks. Now playing without the pressure of having to chase us for the title. Second place, comfortable for them.
Yeah.
Impressive, really. Freiburg have been very good recently, and Dortmund absolutely smoked them off the park. They did. Just true demolition job. Fabio Silva as well. Fair credit. Really well taken goal from Fabio Silva. I have to say, for all the stick that people give him, that was a well taken goal.
Yeah, quality finish, and I mean, like you said, I think now that Dortmund don't have that pressure of chasing you guys for the title, the shackles are off, and a bit of a demolition job of Freiburg, who have actually been a really good side this season too. So yeah.
But I mean, their focus is clearly on Europe.
Of course.
Whether they can win the Europa League, obviously, which would be huge if they can do that.
Absolutely.
I'd give them a chance, although there's some difficult teams left in it. Forest are not going to be easy. Villa are definitely not going to be easy if we're talking about the 2 English sides left in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on to the final game of the round. It's only fair we wrap it up with my team. Title's done, and it looked like we were done at half-time, didn't it?
Certainly did.
My God, Mainz. Look, fair credit. Mainz's first half performance was absolutely brilliant. One of the best performances I've seen the team in the Bundesliga put up against us this season. Executed everything perfectly. The plan worked out perfectly. Urs Fischer had it laid out. They would, everything was going well for them. Playing us on the break, dropping deep to defended numbers and defending with intensity. And the counter press was working really well. They just weren't giving us any space. was really suffocating us. Yes, I know we weren't starting Elise and Kane and Kimmich and Goretzka and all these players, I know, but still, Mainz, fair credit. And look, it's not often, as I yawn again, it's not often that, I'm watching Bayern play and I'm watching our opponents play and I'm getting scared that they're going to score on us. But my word, that first half, every single time Mainz broke on us, I was like, fucking hell, they could score here.
Yeah.
And to their credit, they did 3 times in the first half. However, the second half, everything completely flipped on its head.
As it usually does, yeah.
Harry Kane and Elise and Goretzka, came on, and Bayern were Bayern again. And we've seen some great comebacks from Bayern this season. The 2-0, both times 2-0 down to Freiburg, coming back to win 6-2 earlier this season, and then more recently the 3-2 where we scored the 3 goals in the last 15 or so minutes of the game from 2-0 down. This one for me is one of my favourite and one of our best this season in the league. 3-0 down and 4-3 like it wasn't even a challenge. As soon as we scored that first goal, which again, well taken by Nicholas Jackson, who my opinion of is actually starting to be aligned with, if Chelsea are offering up for sale in the summer, I want us to get the money together and buy him. Because even though Kane is going to be the starting striker, I like what I see a lot at times in Nicholas Jackson as that backup option. And in recent weeks in the Bundesliga, when he has started the majority of the games recently, he's done a decent job in every single one of them. He was brilliant against you guys. He was excellent in this game as well. And yeah, I'm happy for us to buy him because I kind of like him as that backup option. I think the Bundesliga is a good fit for him, and we're seeing it. And the other thing I noticed throughout this game is noticed all season why we're so good. I sound so cocky right now, but it's true. You look through our team, and it's filled with players who can play multi-positions.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas Jackson can play up front, he can do a job out wide. Elise can play out wide and do a job through the middle. Leonard Carl can do a job through the middle and play out wide. Kimmich can play in centre mid and he can do a job at right back. Same with Konrad Laimer. Guerrero can do a job at right back, centre mid, do a job at the 10. It felt like Jonathan Tah can play out at full back and mostly at full. Same with Min Jae Kim. Josip Stanisic has played regularly at fullback and centre-back at times this season. It's filled with players who can just play more than at least 2, maybe even 3 positions to a decent level. And the future is kind of being shown as well, because I'm liking what I'm seeing for these young players come through. I mean, obviously we've talked enough about Leonard Carl this season, but what's his name? Sorry, mind blank.
Nicholas Jackson?
No, not Nicholas Jackson. He was a number 39. He's made his first start for us in central midfield against Mainz. Oh my God, Bayern fans, forgive me. I was literally watching the game and I forgot his name.
I've got no idea.
Sapoko something.
Sapporo? No, that's a BR.
No, it's Sapoko something. He's a midfielder. He's a midfielder. Where's number 39? Bayern fans in the comments, forgive me and please let me know what his name is again. But anyway, yeah, he's a young player. He's a young player again. Looked quite impressive. Had a decent game. Oh God. It's unbode well with the fact that I've got a United game to watch before I go to work tomorrow morning. But yeah, look, we'll move on for the Bundesliga and Bayern. Look, another excellent second half from Bayern. We've seen this so many times this season, but it's all gearing up to those Champions League semi-final games against PSG now. And, I mean, look, we're in the Pokal final, another solid win against Leverkusen midweek before the Mainz game. That we got Stuttgart in that. Got to put us favourites to that. That'll be 2 trophies. It's that PSG game. If we get past PSG, I think we've done the treble. That's really what it comes down to now. So yeah, I mean, look, that'll wrap up the Bundesliga portion. I mean, look, unless you got anything to say about the Mainz Bayern game, I've kind of hogged it there.
No, that's okay. I mean, I would have jumped in as you were yawning, but I didn't see any of the game. Obviously, I was watching the game. But what I will say is, yeah, Mainz, great to see them sort of rebound after the sort of mid sort of season slump they had. Now, I'm just checking to see who they play this weekend. Oh, okay, right, yeah. Chalk them up for a win this weekend. That's my tip of the week, folks. Mainz to win. I'm not going to mention who they play because we already know. I just think they're in too good a form to...
for those of you watching who don't know, it's Sam Pauli.
Yeah, so, I'll still watch the game, but I just think if you can put 3 past Bayern, I mean, we did all right against Bayern when we played you guys first time around, and then we all know how the second time around went. So can we get the first Bayern game version of us against Mainz on the weekend? We'll have to wait and see.
Still lost that game.
Yeah, but still,
I mean, you could have gone, can you get the version of you that beat Stuttgart or Hoffenheim or Bremen, but
yes.
Weirdly you decided to go with a game you lost.
Yeah, but we've still played pretty well.
Right.
Can Hatonji score the same sort of goal that he scored against you guys, and then he got injured about 15 minutes later? Anyway, I'm rambling, but no, they've done really well this year, and you guys obviously, I don't know how the quest to have every single player on your list, including goalkeepers, scoring a goal is going. That's about the only thing I'm interested in with Bayern still at the moment, to be perfectly honest. I like a good...
We didn't get a penalty against Mainz, but maybe if we get a penalty in one of our next 3 games, or 2 penalties we'd need, so Neuer and Erbe can both get on the score sheet.
That's about as much interest as I've got in Bayern at the moment. So, but big weekend in the A-League, and we've got a few games to cover, and some of the other ones we'll cover as well.
And before we get there, as always, if you made it this far through the video, people, don't forget to give us a like, follow, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we do keep an eye on the comments and the number of likes we get on our different videos, and we like seeing them. So thank you for the support. We keep it coming.
Yeah, but we'll move on to the A-League, which had its penultimate round before the finals. Again, a couple of results we can quickly glaze over. MacArthur absolutely tearing Wellington a new one in a completely meaningless game on Friday night. Look, good for MacArthur to get a win and look impressive, even though it literally means nothing, apart from table position. It means they finish above Wellington. That's basically what it means. Wellington finished 8th, MacArthur 7th, courtesy of that big win. Look, not really much else to say about that one, really. Just a couple of good goals in there, and Wellington really didn't look like they turned up to do anything in that game. We had another 4-0 on Saturday night in the F3 derby. Newly crowned A-League premiers Newcastle Jets absolutely rollicking over the Central Coast Mariners in Newcastle. Mariners, just another disappointing season really for them. They finished 9th in the end, and Newcastle have won the league without even having to reach the 50-point mark, so that kind of shows you the standard.
Yeah, there was actually a little incident out of that game, which I was going to send you the clip. Danny Vukovic got into an argument with some of the Jets fans, and it was actually pretty interesting. He was wanting to head out to the car park and continue it after the game. It was those F3 derbies are usually pretty heated, but that just sort of took it to a next level, I suppose. So yeah, the rivalry continues.
Hi everyone, sorry that was weird. We're just going to edit this here, but like a bit of an internet cut out, but we're back now. For those of you who are wondering, God, I can't talk. This time, this has just hit me today. Where were we, Ben? We were finishing off the ramblings on the A-League, so there is a game we'll get to, but we'll talk, but that's the game we usually reserve for the Saints chat, for your Saints game, so we'll quickly rattle through the others in another meaningless game between 2 teams that we tipped to finish down near the bottom of the table, who earlier this season looked like they were actually going to make it into the finals, but then reality hit and they ended up limping away from the finals come the back end of the season. Still, nevertheless, I think it's been a season of progress for Perth. I like what Adam Griffiths has done with the team this season. Another good win for them here. For Brisbane, I think it's back to the drawing board. They did look so promising earlier this season, but then the lack of goals and that just started to hit them. The defence got weaker, and then Michael Valkanis seemed to have no answer, and they just have not had a good end to this season, have they?
No, a little bit of hope for Brisbane sort of around Christmas, but just, we sort of said start of the season that they would probably be in the lower sort of realms of the table, and they finished second last. So as it stands, so it's probably about where we thought they might be, and I guess same with Perth. I do like Adam Griffiths, and it's great that he's going to be continuing on there. I think, with another full season, with that group, hopefully, they'll be on the improve. But great effort, as I've said multiple times, from the home crowd over there in Perth to get behind their team, and certainly they travel away pretty well as well. But just not much really else to say about that one.
And then to the two Sunday games, the last two games of the regular season against two teams, basically between four teams who had already secured their final spot. We'll start with our game. Another Sydney FC performance, to behold, on the fact that we're probably not going to get past victory in the finals. We don't expect much of it, us fans. One thing I will say, look, defensively this season, excellent. We conceded 25 goals across 26 games in the regular season, and had it not been for some pretty lax defending on Auckland's goals yesterday, we probably would have finished the season with 10 clean sheets in those 26 games as well. So, quite incredible stuff really from Sydney. And I know, it's not over yet, but the things I see from us going forward, I'm not convinced. Second half, much better than the first half, but that's been the case for us throughout this whole season. The first halves have never been good enough in front of goal. But, look, there's still big questions to be asked in the off-season. I would like Paddy Kisnorbo to get given another go at it. I would find it absolutely ludicrous to give him 4 games plus whatever we play in the finals, and that's it. I think he definitely is good enough. I think he's definitely good enough to just see how he goes for the whole of next season and then kind of see where we're at. I don't like this constant chopping and changing and stuff like that. And plus, who else is out there really? The quality is so low in the A-League. You either go abroad and risk it, or you go within and get. I don't want Giancarlo Italiano, if I'm honest. I'm happy to keep PK. But yeah, look, a game really that symbolised the seasons both of them have had, especially the back end of the season both of them have had. Auckland were crap. Auckland just don't look great at the moment. Obviously, that could all change in finals time. They've missed out on second place, of course, because of your result. So why don't you start talking about your result, Ben? Because, big win for Adelaide to get them into second.
Yeah, which I didn't realise until I checked the table this afternoon. I just automatically assumed that they finished third. But what a game! We knew what the stakes were. It was sort of winner takes all, winner gets a home final, and of course the pessimist in me thought, we'll probably bottle it. But hey, we almost conceded within about the first 20 minutes, as I mentioned before we jumped on tonight, which would have been true City fashion. Let me tell you, I was almost half expecting it, a turnover and then, hitting the post. But, we took the lead, and Marcus Eunice, what a player. The only saving grace for us in this renaissance this season has been this kid. Melbourne City, if you're watching, if you're listening, you can't let this kid go back to Hungary or wherever he's, Denmark or wherever he's on loan from. Take his passport, nationalise him. Well, he's already a citizen, I'm sure, but if you can get this kid on a permanent deal, please do it. I don't care who else you sign alongside him. You can see how good he is at this level. He sort of reminds me of Tilio a bit. You've got to keep him on board. He's been fantastic for the group since coming over, but there wasn't much else to say in this league. The one thing I will say, it was pretty typical that Adelaide equalised in pretty soft fashion. Then you've got an all-in brawl. It was like an episode of Jerry Springer. An all-in brawl breaks out, and then within about 2 minutes after that, in stoppage time, Adelaide go up the other end and score. So, pretty typical. Even the Seagulls didn't want a bar of what was going on the field. And like I said, I didn't check the table. I probably should have after the game, because I would have realised that we're playing in Auckland on the weekend, not in Adelaide. So,
yeah.
And credit to Adelaide. They've been a bit up and down in terms of form, and I almost called him Jovanovic. Was there to score the winner. So credit to them. We've got a game in Auckland on the weekend, but I don't really sort of have high hopes for that one. It's possible if we do get a favourable result there, we might go well against Newcastle. But as you can probably imagine, Chester, my focus was on the previous game before getting there.
We'll get to that shortly. We'll get to that shortly. I will just say when we wrap up the A-League, yes, I know people watching. There's a game we haven't talked about, and I'll quickly mention it in a sec. You know, one thing I will say is I make a bold call. The two teams that finished top in that, you know, Newcastle won the Premier's Play, Adelaide ended up finishing second. They have the youngest average age in the squad in terms of the teams in the top six, I'm pretty sure. My bold claim is, as good as all that youth has been to get them to there, I think when it matters most for experience and older heads and calmer heads and all that stuff is when it's knockout football, everything changes, and now it is that. Yeah. My bold claim is I don't think Adelaide or Newcastle feature in this year's A-League Grand Final. I think both of them lose their next game and get knocked out before, and neither make the Grand Final. That's my bold claim.
I like it.
To this. It's a very bold claim, but I think, and I know people might jump in the comments going, oh, but Newcastle did win a knockout football. They won the cup. Firstly, most of the teams they played NPL teams in a couple of rounds. Secondly, when they did play A-League teams, they were on their pre-season, and yes, I know Newcastle were as well, but it is different when you're in the middle of when you're in like season and full competitive mode. So yeah, my bold claim is Adelaide and Newcastle neither make this year's Grand Final. That's my bold claim. The A-League Grand Final will be between one of Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory, Auckland or Sydney. And
we did beat Auckland when we played them. I think it was late January, early Feb, which I think I told you. I don't think we've got a hope in hell of beating them, and we did. So and we were average that during that part of the season. But look, it's going to be a really interesting final series. Like you said, I'm hoping for an upset or two for selfish reasons. I just sort of think that we played well enough yesterday to show why we belong in the sixth, and now it's a whole new season starting this weekend. Really, that's what.
I did forget to mention Melbourne Victory did beat Wanderers 2-0. Wanderers absolutely absolutely diabolically shit, and we love to see it. Victory, very comfortable win, but then hopefully we can knock them out next week. Or this week, I should say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, anyway, on to the other two games you were at this week, Ben. Mm-hmm. One of which you saw your teams absolutely demolish their opponents, and the other of which you saw one of your teams get absolutely demolished by their opponents. You watched Storm and Saints, so people who are watching, take a guess right now who, out of Storm and Saints, which one did the demolishing and which one were the demolishees or got demolished. Because you'd think it's Saints. Because you'd think, Melbourne Storm probably they probably wiped their opponents away. And you'd think Saints, they probably got shat upon. No, that's not how it turned out, actually. No. Not at all.
No.
Why don't you talk us through these two games?
I'd love to. Melbourne Storm coming up against South Sydney, traditional Anzac Day clash, which is one of the biggest days on the calendar. I personally love this fixture. I've got so much so that I've got a one-game Storm membership for the whole year. And there's a reason for that, and I'm about to tell you why. And it's the game I picked to go to out of all the others because of the way it's done. It's a really, really sort of dignified Anzac Day service. They turn all the lights out, and you've got fireworks, you've got laser lights, you've got projections, you've got everything.
Can I just quickly ask, if they're going to have the Anzac Day thing in Melbourne, like the games and stuff celebrate Anzac Day, why the fuck don't we get the public holiday of it?
I've got no idea.
Yeah.
I don't,
There's one for you, Australian government. If you're watching this video,
Victorian
government, if you're watching this video, I don't give a shit if you subscribe or not. Just if you're watching this video, let us know in the comments.
We could have both used the day off to prepare for this episode. So
yeah, exactly.
And I've got an interview tomorrow, so I've had to spend the day sort of researching that. But he wouldn't have known it because. Just an awful game. South have never beaten Melbourne before this game in their existence, and
in Melbourne,
Melbourne. Sorry, and it was probably the perfect time for them to do it because we were shithouse. So much so that I left about 20 minutes into the second half. I'd had enough. Just it wasn't even a full house. That probably shows you the lack of trust in Storm with Melbourne fans at the moment. And I feel for Craig Bellamy, a legend of the NRL coaching fraternity. He didn't have. I think I saw a bit of his press conference where he just, he was embarrassed by the team, and I was too. Just really poor performance. Yes, they've got injuries, but you can't use injuries in the modern game as an excuse these days.
Yeah.
embarrassing and really.
What was the score in the end?
48-6, I think it was.
Oh.
In a year we've already had 50 put on us this season. So much so that I was on the tram coming home and, someone mentioned that we'd scored and I'm like, oh, that's good. Would have been nice if we could have done it before half time or while I was actually still at the ground. The seat I got was good. The reserve seat I got was good. Level 2, in contrast to the City game, was open, so that was good. I did,
the question, was it open the following night?
No.
Of course,
But I think that's the other thing I mentioned as well, because I meant to send this to you earlier. So they did at half time last night, they did a celebration of City's women's team winning the Premier's Plate and having a big celebration. All the girls got their medals. They opened it up for that, but only for I think the girls were upstairs watching the game. But they spared no expense in the celebration, right? They had pyrotechnics and fireworks and stuff and smoke for City's women's team winning the Premier's Plate, because we can, you know. Contrast to the night before, where you've got all this stuff, all this pomp and ceremony, not the Anzac stuff, but the fireworks and the laser projectors and stuff, and we get hammered, you know. Whereas City fork out money for a big presentation at half time for a Premier's Plate celebration, you know, like night and day, really. I just thought that was quite funny, like spare no expense for not even a grand final sort of celebration. So,
but yeah, back to the Storm game.
Yeah.
Obviously, you saw them get absolutely twatted around the park.
Yes, very disappointing. Just not the Storm side I've come to know and love over previous seasons, and not the Storm side I went to watch in 2006 in Sydney in a grand final on a train and a bus. So,
I mean, look, to finish off with it, I mean, what did you see in the performance which made you just be like, what the fuck is going on, sort of thing?
The ease of which South were able to score, pretty much, and just the fact that we had a try that was disallowed while I was there. That was the other thing.
Wait,
the bunker thought, oh, he's still in the crowd, he's still upstairs, let's fuck with his head before he walks out in disgust, and just
happened there?
Bullshit. I think it was like a double movement try. It was taken off us, so I'm like...
You have to explain to these rugby noobs that I am what that means.
So basically what that is play with the ball goes down and they move again to basically have the motion of the try, and that's called off now. So to the naked eye it didn't look like anything, but yeah, like I said, I was already walking to the Route 70 tram at the back of John Cain Arena by the time or getting ready to anyway. Did
you end up at Wattle Park?
No, I went back into the city. I thought about it though, to get the connecting...
to get to Geppetto's.
No, to get my connecting tram, my favourite tram to Paran, to Balaclava.
The 75.
But I didn't. I thought I'll go back into the city, and luckily it was going all the way up to Docklands.
You should have gone to Geppetto's. Just get the 70, most of the way, and just end up at Geppetto's.
On the old 75, I could have, but yeah, I didn't, because I had a game to watch at 11:30, and I only ended up watching about 5 minutes of that, as I said. So, but it was interesting, like I said, being there on the Saturday night and seeing it packed, and as you saw yesterday from me, seeing it almost empty the next day.
Yeah.
Compared to Perilous, I think I said it was just laughable, really. But
okay, look, it's only fair now we wrap up this week's episode. We've spoken about St. Pauli's horrific performance at Heidenheim. We've spoke about Melbourne City's late on loss, and we've spoken now about Storm's embarrassment on Anzac Day, on Anzac night, whatever. It's only fair we give you a chance to have your moment in the sun and talk about Saints' glorious win on the weekend. So yes. The floor is yours, Benjamin.
It was glorious, and for multiple reasons. 101 point win against West Coast, and it was just so good. It made the previous night and what I saw after that just pale into insignificance for multiple reasons, because not only was it a 101 point win, it was the Saints' biggest win and their first 100 point win in over a decade. So I think I've only known you for about, 3 years. You have to go back to 2015 against Essendon of all clubs, which I was there as well, for their last 100-point plus win. And boy, was that memorable. But yeah, they did an Anzac service as well on the ground, which was fantastic. I think the AFL does that really well. The other thing, just with City, while I'm here, is they phoned in all the trumpeting and stuff, and I just thought that was really poor. Like, if you're going to do all the Anzac commemorations like the Saints did, get a proper bugler to do it. You don't just have the anthem and all that sort of stuff phoned in. I just think that's a bit, where's all your money going? We can afford pyrotechnics, but we can't afford that. Like, really? Anyway, it was interesting because when you and I talked about live streaming their previous game last week against Adelaide, which turned out to be an absolute corker of a game, right? We thought it might be a bit of a hammering on our part. You were hoping for that, and it wasn't. It was a 1-point margin, so credit to the Saints for that. But I'll get to next week's opponents in a second for various reasons. But Saints, it was probably the closest to a 4-quarter effort they've had all season. You've heard me lament that over the multiple weeks in between, saying this is our year. I think things are starting to get back on track now. We're starting to hit our straps, and shout out to the human pitbull Hugo Garcia. There was that VAR controversy that's been overlooked now, which was quite funny in the stands, considering we had no idea what was happening either. But I'll take it, given the fact that it held towards our 100-point margin. It was a nice little contribution, nice little problem to have when usually those sort of things are going against us.
Maybe it's justice for you. I mean, you were there in the grand final with the infamous post here.
And the year after, which we talked about at TGI Fridays on Saturday.
No, I was talking about the ball, the 2009 grand final.
Yeah. But and that next year wasn't VAR, but it very well could have been, so. I'm really.
It's contagious.
It is, but the game was superb. It was really nice. Not watching a game where you've got to have the heart rate monitor right next to you. So.
Well, you sort of were, because you were also watching the VFL game on your phone.
I was. Max. I was on Max King Watch, VFL Watch. They came up against Gold Coast, who hadn't won a game all year. So what do? They go to Moorabbin on the other side of town, so to speak, and they beat us. But I was only watching for one player. That was Max King, our key forward, who did all right. His first game back in nearly 2 years. He had four disposals, took a mark, kicked a point from a really good opportunity. So he got through the game, which is what we all wanted. We don't know yet what's going to happen with him, whether he'll come back on Saturday night or whether he's got a couple of games left in him. But Carlton's Grand and Sandringham, the meccas of VFL footy, we don't know yet. The one thing I will say is my gripe this week is with Carlton and their ticketing. So I have heard some news, and I don't know how correct it is, because our WhatsApp group is at 6 and 7 trying to find out. So I think I mentioned to you weeks ago that the game was fully ticketed.
Yeah.
And they were trying to charge us $43 or whatever for a ticket. There's a rumour going around, it's unconfirmed, that they are selling GA tickets and there is going to be walk-up on Saturday night. I don't think I'm going to sort of play that card, because I'd rather, we've talked about you have had interest in live streaming a game with me, and one where I might lose the plot, or one where it might be a really good result for us.
Well, no, I really hope we can do this Carlton one, because of the fact that how much you despise their team, B, how much you've constantly been running your mouth as per usual when you start playing well, that you're going to beat them. So, it would make for a very interesting live stream if we were to do that and they were to beat you. I'm completely neutral in it. I'm just thinking in terms of like the entertainment factor. I mean, that's where it's a win-win for the entertainment factor, because if you win, you're going to be up and down on the stream chanting about how much they suck, and if you lose, you're going to be up and down on the stream chanting about how much you suck.
Well, not so much how much we suck, just
more about
how could we lose to them like West Coast beating us last year and being there?
And as I said to you when we were hanging out on Saturday, when we were talking about potentially doing this one as a live stream, when I said, like, it almost also could feel like a game where we're going to be watching it on the live stream, of course, and then you're going to be there. Any slight thing that one of their players does or the official does toward their team, you're just going to be constantly on it, you are. Like, if one of their players makes slightly illegal contact, let's say, with one of your players, you're going to be like, oh, you fuck, what are you doing?
Well, there's an added twist to the point you make, because as I said, there's three ex-Carlton players likely to be in the lineup this weekend for Saints. So that's
have they got any of your players?
What's that?
Have they got any of your former players?
No. No, they do not.
Oh.
And I'd feel really sorry to whoever that was if they did. But yeah, three, and one's on. You know, you might say two are on pretty big money, but only one of them really is Tom de Koning. You know, Jack Silvani, who's like a household name at Carlton. His family's like Carlton folklore, basically. His father played for Carlton, his grandfather played for Carlton.
Wow.
But the way, even more spice to it, you know. So yeah, no, I'm more than happy to live stream it. But I just think that's quite interesting little takeaway from.
Is there a player right now in their team which you cannot stand, like hate with a passion?
All of them.
But like one in particular, is there?
If you ask me if there's any fan groups that I despise who have been mouthing off about Saints all summer, I can definitely say yes, but I won't go into that. They know who they are. I won't go into that on this pod. You'll have to wait till Saturday night to find out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
If Saints are going well, then it's all going to come out. So, but no, yeah. If you guys are interested in watching along, I'm sure we'll drop the link, but we'll sort of chat about that more on Thursday if we're doing a tea break. So, but that's going to be fantastic, I think. But Saints are up and about again. It was good to go to the game and actually enjoy the footy and not have to stress like the week before where I was swearing my head off
or the day before.
Yes, exactly.
Or the night, or later that same night.
Yeah, wondering what the fuck was going on. Why did I invest in a free ticket to Storm when that was, you know? So, no, I think that's going to be good. I'm definitely up for that. So, I think that's going to be a good one to do. So, that's pretty much it from me. Any other thoughts on the two games? No,
I mean, that's pretty much that'll wrap it up. I mean, look. I just put people might realise we didn't upload the tea break. We did film one, of course, last week, but we've had some issues with ClipChamp. Sort your shit out, ClipChamp, honestly. So much so to the fact that I think we're both kind of done with it. So there could be some delays around releases in this next week or so as we try and figure out a new kind of platform we can use to edit. I'm thinking CapCut. If anyone's watching this, please remember to like and subscribe, and also if you have any ideas over what we can use, and we're not going to pay like $100 for a service, obviously. We're not like, and we're not like, I'm not a skilled.
Unless we get a sponsorship, if there's a business out there who'd love to sponsor us who sees this, by all means,
exactly.
Jump in the DMs and we'll talk.
Yeah. But yeah, look, make suggestions, of course, if you've got ideas of what platforms we should use to edit. So look, these videos might be a little delayed over the next week or so, but we'll still get them out. We have filmed last week's tea break. We will get it out, but it will probably be. We've got one in reserve now, essentially. So in case we
in the can, as they say,
in
the
case
business.
we're too like completely flat out tired, let's say 1 week, and we just can't be asked to record one, or we're too busy or anything like that. We've got something we can kind of upload when we can. So apologies, there was no tea break episode last week. We did film it, we just couldn't upload it on time, and now we're at Monday. There's no point uploading it now when we got another one. Another 2 videos this week. But yeah, there might be a delay anyway on these next couple of videos over the next week or so. So we'll try and get out.
There's a bit going on. I mean, you've got your new job, and I've got a couple of interviews coming up and some other stuff that's going on for me personally. So
look, those of you who are watching, if this video comes out even by Wednesday, don't worry. It's just what it is. Same with the upcoming tea break. If it comes out by the weekend, again, it's just what it is. We're still going to make the content. We're still going to try our best to get it out there. So, yeah. But that will wrap up this episode of the Bundesliga A-League review. There's only 2 A-League games, of course, next week. 2 big ones. Auckland City and then the Big Blue. 3 more weeks of the Bundesliga, of course, it's starting to wind down, and we've got to start thinking World Cup, because obviously we're going to be reviewing that not too far from now.
Promotion playoff first and then World Cup, I'd say. It's thinking
Yeah, so anyway, so stay tuned for all that. Lots more content on the way, as always. People, and as always, peace out, take care, and we'll see you guys next time.
Take care, guys.